What's going on, guys? My name is Tommy. Welcome back to the channel and welcome to a special episode of the Forgotten Race Review. Today at the request of Mr. Ross Desarn, 360 Mac Gamer, Tarask at Tale of Three Dragons, GM at Tales of the Greenwich Colonies, good friend of mine, top tier patron, Black Dragon Disciple, and, pretty decent dude all round, Gym Leader Brock IRL, from what I understand. We're going to do a different episode today. Instead of talking about a specific race, we're cracking open our advanced race guide to talk about the custom build race rules. We're going to teach you how to build your own race in Pathfinder 1st Edition because, maybe there's something that doesn't quite exist that you would like to see come to the fore, maybe you'd like to play something from a certain game, etc. And I'll even debut one of my own homebrew races right here. I know, we talked about doing werewolves, and werewolves we will do, but remember, patronage at any tier will allow you to cut the line. Patron link, of course, is in the description, and if you have any requests, the comments is where they go. Today, this episode was brought to you by the man who requested it, 360 Mac Gamer! Thanks for all your help, bud. Now, let's build us a monster. Okay, so before I dive straight into this, bit of a disclaimer, some of the numbers I'm about to throw at you, to be honest, are kind of arbitrary. The RP system used to build a race in the Advanced Race Guide is a pretty good benchmark, but there are definitely some alternate race traits, looking at you, Mystic Past Life on the Samsarans, that are just really powerful if used correctly. That correct use can definitely tip the scales one way or the other in terms of how powerful a thing something is, so of course, take this with a grain of salt, but here we go. So at the very back of the Advanced Race Guide, we see our race builder. It provides us a set of traits and things and a given RP value. Slap all these things together and you have your own race. Now, of course, the ability to just jam things on a race forever can get a little out of hand, so the first thing we see here is an RP range for the average races. A standard race has an RP range of 1 to 10 with 3 traits per category, an advanced race 11 to 20 with 4 traits per category, 20 plus makes you a monstrous race with 5 traits per category. But of course, what does that even mean? We'll talk about that in a second. If you were to build in order following the directions here, and that's probably the best idea, we start at first by picking our type. Our type is a prerequisite for some other things down the line and also is kind of a little bit of an RP tax to make sure that we stay in line with the races that exist. And also, if we drift to the back real quick, we can see all the core races and the races from Bestiary 1, 2, 3 broken down in such a way that we can clearly see their RP cost. For example, a Kobold is 5 RP, an Ifrit is 6, the Rat Folk is 9, etc, etc. Now, I'm not going to ping every single type you could be here in this video, but just for an example, if you wanted to play an Aberration, because why not make a Cthulhu monster, you would have Dark Vision out to 60 feet, and you would need to breathe, eat, and sleep for 3 RP. A Construct will cost you all of 20, and that's basically entirely what a Weirwood is just slap that on a thing and go. A Fae will cost you 2, Humanoid costs you nothing, etc. Next up, we choose our size. A medium and small race costs you nothing, a large costs you 7, a tiny costs you 4. This is where it gets a little spendy, and it can be kind of hard to stay within the bounds of certain blocks. In most of my time when I've built custom races, I'm told the limit is 20. The race I'll debut for you guys here had a limit of 15, but we'll get to that in a second. Next up, we choose our ability score modifier quality. The standard +2 to 1 physical, +2 to 1 mental, -2 to 1 of anything will cost you 0, but there are several other options as well. For example, Paragon at 1 RP is what we see on the Orc, who gets a +4 to his strength, a single ability score, and a -2 to all 3 of his mental ability scores, his intelligence, his wisdom, his charisma. Let me tell you, playing an Orc Hunter on a 15-point buy who wanted to have a positive intelligence, so he wasn't just big dumb Orc, and also needed his wisdom to get all his spells, was a thing that we did, let me tell you. I really miss Rise of the Runelords, come to think of it. IOPC, if you're listening, let's go back. It'll be fun. Let me kill things with my war cat. Next up, it's the language quality, which honestly, I'm pretty good in my campaigns at just kind of shooing away. If you can explain to me why your rat folk can speak a language that's not on the rat folk list in your backstory, that's totally fine, and I think it makes a more in-depth character than just saying that you've spent 1 RP on linguist. You start with common and your racial language. If you have a high intelligence, you can pick anything, with standard and xenophobic also existing. Anywho, next up, it's the racial traits. This is what makes your race what it is. There are about 1 billion different categories from here. This is where we see the only X amount of traits from a certain place. We have advanced traits, defensive traits, standard traits, monstrous traits, magical traits, offensive traits, you name it. There's a bajillion here, and this is where most of your RP gets spent. Again, I'm not going to call out each individual one, but most of the races that existed by the time of the printing of the Advanced Race Guide, they appear in this book, and they can be tailored to your race. I definitely borrowed from the fetchling, as Joe and I were wont to do when we built custom races. Again, more on that in a second. Next up, we have our senses racial trait. This is where, if we didn't have dark vision, this is where we would grab dark vision. Then, if you need to buy off some of your point buy, or if you feel the desire to make a race that's got a weakness for a fun roleplay, we've got racial traits for that too. Think your light blindness, your negative energy affinity, elemental vulnerability, sunlight powerlessness, here it is. If your GM allows you to build custom races, I truly think they should, and sets the cap at 20, and you build up to 21, jam negative energy affinity on yourself, and suddenly you're an undead version of what you wanted, assuming you meet all the prereqs for a given weakness. Again, it can help bring you where you need to be. Finally, we've got other racial traits, things that don't quite fit anywhere. Things like being amphibious, things like rodent empathy or a prehensile tail, or, you know, the ability to get 2 hero points instead of 1 every time you level. That's worth way more than 4 RP, in my opinion, because that influences RNG. That's worth like 8 or 9. But I digress. Let's talk about one of the races that I've built in the past to show you how this works in practice. Now, brace for some member berries on this one, because this character goes way, way back for me. Once Robin gets back from Africa and we're kicking back up a house divided, we're rolling up new characters to save them. But a long, long time ago, Sinvolka, before Sinvolka had that name, was just the unfortunate offspring of a dire werewolf and an unfortunate victim of a raid in Arcadia. This, of course, produces a skinwalker. The skinwalker is forced out of the tribe when it comes of age, because, you know, wolves. Wanders the forests of Arcadia, killing and taking, the only thing he's ever learned in his entire life, before he runs into what the native Arcadians, at least those that live more of a tribal lifestyle and haven't been exposed to, like, core deities, believe to be gods. Fans of the Forgotten Realms setting will understand when I say a Telthor creature. That's basically the idea. A fey creature given the form of an animal and released onto the material plane to do as they please. Now, I may have chopped up some Native American myths to make this one. I realize it's not always the wolf that is considered the trickster. Oftentimes it's more like the coyote. And I also wanted to play something that would be shifting its shape a lot. And me playing a skinwalker, I wanted to have an actual, like, wolf spirit that the poor little 16-year-old baby boy Sinvolka, before he became a paladin synthesis gestalt. Really, if you've watched Sinvolka's backstory, there's a little more how did that even happen together. And so I created a race with the same name as the name of its race. From the Oneida word for wolf, I present the first ever bit of Black Dragon Gaming homebrew that I've used. Rubber meets the road on the table, the Odeui. Yes, that's how that's pronounced, I think. If someone can correct me in the comments, I'd really appreciate it. I definitely don't want to sound like I'm appropriating something, but Native American culture has always been super fascinating to me, and I wanted to, you know, have it at the table. Anywho, Odeuni receives a +2 to its intelligence and charisma with no negative stats, that being the flexible ability score modifier quality worth 2 RP. Odeuni is a medium fey creature. Medium costs us nothing. Fey for 2 RP gives us low light vision and forces us to have to eat, breathe, and sleep. And of course, as a Tommy race, as many of the people I've played with will know, for 4RP, as a wolf, we definitely wanted to be sure we had the scent advanced trait. Seriously, scent is not anything to trifle with. It's the poor man's blind sight. And also as a wolf, we are in fact spending 2RP to be a quadruped. I did cheat the large size prereq because Joe said it was cool because wolves are medium, right? But in return, I didn't have the 2 arms, literally just wanted to play an intelligent fey wolf creature. This got me a +4 racial bonus to CMD against trip attempts, a +10 foot bonus to my base speed, more importantly, and it would do other centaur things as well, again, if I had hands, but I sure didn't. So some of the stuff was missed out on, but again, it's all about the flavor, all about playing an intelligent wolf creature. Going back up a little bit for 1RP, I chose to take Emissary because I knew I was going to be playing the party face, literally was playing a Mesmerist, towering intellect, real good, getting the ability to add half my level to bluff, real good, but natural ones hurt. Emissary from the fetchlings, once per day, allows Odeuni to roll twice when making a bluff or diplomacy and take the higher. Pretty sure every race Joe and I ever made, or at least most of them, definitely all of them that hit the table had Emissary. Really, if we get to the point where I can publish a race, I probably would publish Odeuni. But Joe's Campanule kind of holds a closer place in my heart, and I'm pretty sure I would publish that one too. Anywho, moving on, for 2RP, we did want to make sure, though most of the damage going through on Odeuni was from Painful Stare, to grab a bite attack. Spend 1RP and you'd get a 1d3 bite on a medium creature, it being a primary attack. But I wanted to spend the extra RP to buff my damage up by 1 size category to get it up at least to a d4. Though that's not a lot, and I feel like a d6 would have been a little more equitable. I believe this exists a little more for standard 2-legged, 2-armed humanoids, and it's a fair balance. But you know what's not a fair balance? There are 2 advanced traits that you can take, Nimble Attacks and Quick Reactions, 2RP each. Nimble Attacks gives that race Weapon Finesse as a bonus feat for free. Quick Reactions gives you Improved Initiative as a bonus feat for free. Now, I was limited to 15 RP to build this race. Otherwise, yeah, we're taking Quick Reactions, but the only one I was able to really take here was Nimble Attacks. Made it a little easier once the Agile Amulet of Mighty Fists came down for my bite. And of course, eventually there was a monk dip on this thing once it went from Chaotic Evil to Lawful Neutral. The Deck of Many Things is a fun artifact, let me tell you. But these are 2 really, really, really powerful advanced traits with no prereqs. Every Dex build in the world will tell you that it's too taxy to get where it's going, which is fair because it oftentimes comes out a little better than the big angry strength guy. Your custom race can have them right here, and that is what Odeuni looks like. I had a lot of fun playing her, though now she's the synthesist part of my synthesist paladin gestalt, because I couldn't play 2 characters in House Divided, and I couldn't not have her because she was so integral to how that game ran. It definitely would not have been the same thing if Odeuni came in as like an Azamar or a Rogaru or some weird combination of the 2 to make another creature, so like a Nagathian Blooded Azamar. With things like the Advanced Race Guide and this RP system, it can help bring your ideas to life. And that, in fact, is all I have to say about that. What do you guys think about building your own race? Have you done it before? What races do you think we need to see in Pathfinder? What's missing? What do we need? Tell me all your stories. Throw them in the comments. We'll keep that conversation going. And as always, thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe for more content. Assuming we don't get patrons sniped, next week it's all about the Lycanthrope template. I'll see you then.